Welcome to another episode of Ask Forza. As you can see, our background's a bit different. We are up here in Saratoga Springs, so we have gone from where we live in Florida. We hit the July yearling sale, which was a great time, and then now we have landed in Saratoga. So we want to do a quick recap of the yearling sale and how that went. So honey, what did you think? You were on the grounds, you saw a lot of yearlings at the sale. What did you think of the quality that was at the sale and kind of how that sale played out?
I actually thought that there was a pretty decent group of horses overall. I think the market is finally leveling out a little bit. It seems to be more of a buyer's market than a seller's market. The median last year was about 90,000 and this year it was at 77,000. As always, the phenomenal athletes, the standouts go for a lot more money, but I thought the middle market was more reasonably priced.
Overall, it was an interesting sale. I mean, July yearling sale is a sale that I particularly like because I think you get a lot of good athletes at better prices than you can get at other sales kind of in September at Keeneland. A lot of people tend to wait and sit on their budgets until Keeneland opens up. So there were some great horses. We bid on quite a few, had quite a few on the top of our list and ended up walking away with a very nice filly. So kind of as we went through it, just wanted to touch base on some of the horses we really liked in the sale. And we'll get it going with our favorite, which we did not get, unfortunately, but one of my good friends did get. So there was a colt, hip 138. He was a colt by Unified. Dominique, what'd you think of that colt?
I thought he was the best physical in the sale. Phenomenal shoulder, phenomenal hip, looks like a racehorse, looks very, very classy. He walked into the back ring, took everything in. Every time they'd pull him out, he'd have straw on him, indicating he was lying down and sleeping, which to me is, a yearling going to a sale. A lot of them don't handle it that well. They pace, they don't lie down to sleep. The fact that he was just so laid back really just showed a lot of, I thought, mental, I don't know what the word is, but I really enjoyed him.
To us, he was a home run horse. He was the must-have of the entire sale. As she said, it's super interesting to see a yearling that would literally come out of the stall, show to you, and go back into the stall and go to sleep, which in race horses is exceptional if you can get a horse that takes care of themselves that well, to where they'll go out, do their job and train, and go back and recuperate. So we bid him up to 90,000, hoping that we could get him, and then somebody else bid 92, and 90 was our cap on that horse. But, who got him is a phenomenal individual, a gentleman named Robson Aguiar. Robson won the Norfolk Stakes this year with the Malibu Moon colt called Valiant Force. So that horse is going to a phenomenal situation and should do really well in that situation. So moving on from him, one of our next horses that was up to bat was hip 202, who was a Street Boss colt that I believe Dominique fell in love with as well. He was just this gorgeous, gorgeous chestnut. A lot more lengthy than most Street Bosses. He seemed a little bit more two turns, had a little bit more stretch in him than your typical Street Boss sprinters. What'd you think of him?
I still think he could have been either a pinhook horse or end user horse. He looked extremely fast to me, extremely light on his feet. I mean, from a buyer's standpoint in the States, the nice thing is that Street Boss isn't as hot as he is in, say, Australia. So I thought, he'd go for a reasonable price, but he was just such an outstanding specimen that, he went for what I believe it was private sale for 100 and...
Yeah, 120.
I'll double check.
So he was a great horse. And then as I'm going off the top of my head here, trying to remember all these numbers, we're going to rewind a little bit to one of Dominique's favorite fillies in the sale, which was hip
120.
Which was hip 195, which was a practical joke filly at Buck Pond. What'd you think of her?
195, Mike? That was a lovely Uncle Mo at Lane's End.
Oh, wrong hip number.
But she was spectacular as well. Let me get him straight here. The Buck Pond filly was the Practical Joke 295.
I was 100 hips off, sorry.
But absolute superstar. To me, she was the best moving filly in the sale. Very forward, came out. I saw her walk 3 or 4 times, sometimes in the early morning, sometime in the afternoon. She had that beautiful fluid stride every time. She went for about $170,000 to Ed and Susie Orr. So really phenomenal purchase. I loved her.
So as I jumped ahead, now we'll jump back. Hip 217 was what we thought was probably the best filly in the sale outside of Hip 295, who we talked about. She was a gorgeous, gorgeous Malibu Moon filly. Couldn't have been better built, couldn't have moved better. An exceptional physical. We bid on her up to 160. She went for 200,000, but she was just drop dead gorgeous in the realm of, you know, kind of what you really want in a top class filly at a sale. And, you know, luckily with a horse like Malibu Moon, she was more affordable in that for some people, 200,000's not affordable, but for a filly of that caliber, that's a great price to get a filly like that at. So next horse that we'd like to discuss, she was an Amazon. She was like Zenyatta, just a pure monster. Was Hip 363, which was an American Freedom filly at Airdrie. What'd you think of her?
I loved her. Big, beautiful, scopy filly, absolutely huge. You know, to me, she's really going to grow and develop into herself. She might need a little bit more time, I think, than being, you know, precocious just to grow into her size. You know, American Freedoms, they're not the most standout stallion in the world. So she sold to All-Star Bloodstock for $70,000. We stopped at about 65,
yeah,
around there. But as from a physical standpoint, I think she was worth every penny. It's just really, I think that stallion is what kept her from being a lot more.
So what we think we got was an absolute steal, which was 366. So she was on our list. She was one of our top fillies on the list for fillies. She had a little chip in the left front ankle, and she was actually sick at the sale. So I don't know if that compromised how she showed, but when we saw her, we loved her. And that is a filly that we did pick up for a client, Hip 366, which was a Practical Joke filly out of a Warfront mare. What did you kind of see in her when you looked at her?
Well, to be honest, when she first came out, I didn't love her physique. I mean, you're going to disagree, but I thought she was a little dumpy. And then I saw her move, and she was just so light on her feet, just floated. And so I think that she might end up being a nice little turf filly. Her hind leg is a little bit sickle, which is why I think she'd probably prefer the turf. But, you know, she's got a lot of growing to do, a lot of developing, and I think she'll come around quite well.
She was one for me that, again, Dominique had shortlisted her for us, and I saw her second time after Dominique had seen her previously, and she was one filly that accelerated off a standstill on the walk incredibly well. As Dominique did say, she did have a slight sickle hock, which does lend more to grass horses. So to me, we'll see how she grows. We'll see how she develops. She's going to stay in Kentucky with a great pre-trainer there named Matt Hogan, and he's going to get her going and get her broke and get her towards the races. But I think it'll be interesting to see, because she seems like a filly that might be precocious unless she hits a growth spurt, which some of these fillies do. But she was a filly that we did love, and we're really happy for our client to have walked away with her. So this video is quite lengthy. We wanted to do a complete recap of the sale. So these were the horses that we actually went after and we bid on and tried to secure for clients. And we wanted to kind of touch base so you guys could go. And if you want to see what these horses look like, not all of them have videos online, but you could go to Fasig-Tipton's website, click results, go to the July sale results, and you can go, if you click on the tab that says catalog, you can scroll through and you can click on the link that are videos or photos of each horse if you want to kind of refer back to see what we really looked at that sale in terms of what we really went after at the sale. So we're going to do another video here where we're going to talk about what we thought might be some emerging sires, some other sires that looked interesting at this sale. It was kind of a showcase for first season sires. There were a lot of horses by first season stallions just to get a feel for that marketplace. So we want to delve into that and give you guys more information on who could be a very interesting first season sire. So thank you for watching.